A couple of weeks ago, we spoke to GroundUP on a legal dispute regarding whether or not beneficiaries of the national lotteries should be made public. The case fell through after the applicant, that's the United Civil Society in Action, withdrew from that case. The NGO had taken GroundUP to court for publishing the names of grant recipients of the lottery. Parliament has said the publishing of details relating to recipients must go ahead. For more on this, let's bring in the spokesperson of the United Civil Society in Action, that's Tebogo Sithathu. Tebogo, thanks very much for your time once again and welcome to the AM report. You know, because of interest in this case, many people have started asking questions around various dynamics, right? One of them is around your organization in and of itself. So perhaps it's a good place to start by asking, who is the United Civil Society in Action? What is your interest in this case? And I think more importantly, who funds you?
Okay, Ayanda, I'm battling to hear you, but I hope you can hear me well. Good morning to the viewers of Newzroom Afrika. I think I heard something about our interest in the matter.
Yes, and who funds you?
Did I hear you well there?
Yes, and my more important interest is who funds the organization?
Who funds the organization? Well, we are a coalition of civil society organizations, and we fundraise in various ways. We've got donors, private even, who actually come to our rescue because, as you know, the NGO sector depends on donor funding, and our interest in the main is the issue of protecting the rights, the constitutional rights, that are enshrined in our constitution of our beneficiaries and organizations. So we just thought we should be championing this cause because we realize that GroundUP media in particular and the cabal, they're very racist. They are kind of painting a picture that black-led organizations or institutions are corrupt.
Okay, but Tebogo, what are you basing this on? It's a very strong allegation to be making. I'm going to need you to substantiate what you're basing these allegations on.
Yeah, no, it's very clear because what they do, they never pry into the affairs of white-owned or white-run organizations. They're always trying to single out particularly black organizations and want to paint a picture that the NLC is corrupt in funding those organizations. We think it's a racial attack. At the bottom of it, you see, all the other things that are happening is just a smokescreen. At the main core is racism, and they want to capture the NLC, so we know about them.
Let's get to the facts as we know it, Tebogo. So my understanding is that this case has to do with making public the details of beneficiaries from the NLC, right? But it's not necessarily people who have bought a lottery ticket and subsequently go to win. These are organizations that are meant to be doing good work and benefit from that arrangement. Why would making that public problematic?
Okay, sure, your line is terrible, but you're talking about the beneficiary list being made public.
Yes, especially if this is a list of organizations that are meant to be doing good work and not necessarily a list of people who bought from the lotteries
we don't
itself.
Have a problem. Ayanda, we don't have a problem with that. And I think GroundUP and the cohorts, they're conflating issues. We've never had a problem with, beneficiaries list being published. However, there's a process to that. There's a process, jurisprudence that one needs to follow for that to be done. It's a right to privacy. Imagine, Ayanda, your bank publishing your information just out there. Or say you've got a charge with the police, and then your docket is published in the newspapers. I mean, what is...
Okay, but we know that we know that the details...
You are declared guilty of a crime.
Sorry to come in there, apologies.
We don't have a problem with transparency. We have a problem with the balance between transparency and the interest of the public on the matter.
Yeah, and if these are organizations doing good work, one would imagine that there's an incredible amount of public interest if they're benefiting from the NLC. Because I'm sure you and I can agree that without us knowing where this money is going, a whole lot of the money could go to places where it shouldn't be headed. So, I'm struggling to balance what you're saying.
Yes, I mean, the NLC is audited on an annual basis. So I think GroundUP should be attacking the AG, the Auditor General, because of if you are audited, you see, when you read the AG's report annually about municipalities, for instance, he will tell you the picture is very clear that they are corrupt. Most of them, not everybody, but most of them, they are not actually complying with PFMA. But the AG has been giving clean reports to the NLC. And why is it only GroundUP? And only GroundUP, of all the media houses, even when Daily Maverick publishes the story on the NLC, it will be the same recycled story of GroundUP. And they go even to dig deep into projects of 10 years ago, when the current board of the NLC and the administration was not even there. So you can see clearly there's an agenda here.
Okay,
so
we're going to have to leave it there.
I want to emphasize, we don't have a problem with transparency. South Africans have a right to know what is happening in there. However, you cannot taint everyone or push the agenda that everybody is corrupt. I've never seen an institution where all people are bad. I think it's nonsense, and we must tell it like it is. GroundUP and their cohorts, they know what agenda they are pushing.
Okay,
so
I'm going to have to come in there. Tebogo, thanks very much for your time indeed.
Organizations of
your point has been well made.
We're not going to be pushed.
Right. Apologies, we're woefully out of time. I do have a few questions still, though, about the attempt to make these things public surely doesn't push back against an understanding that there needs to be some kind of transparency. I guess we'll have to continue following up on this, but we'll leave it there at least for now. Tebogo Sithathu speaks for the United Civil Society in Action. They're saying they're pushing back against GroundUP, publicizing the beneficiaries of those who've benefited from the NLC, but not necessarily in that way. We'll have to try and iron out some of those differences.